Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Mitchell Zimmerman. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, we take a look back at stories concerning agriculture and wildlife, from the impact of bufflegrass in our state to growing indigenous foods.
The city of Phoenix is looking for its next generation of farmers, and its Urban Agriculture Fellowship program hopes to do just that. Cronkite News reporter Molly McBride met one of the agriculture fellows to hear what her experience has been like.
The Project Roots Garden here at Spaces of Opportunity is one of 9 farms that's going to be welcoming a fellow this year, which is sort of like a farmer in training. They hope to teach them how to grow fresh produce just like this and reconnect them with nature.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Literally, it's like you start to become part plant out here.
Angelica Willis-Smith is 24 years old, and unlike most people her age, she spends about 20 hours every week farming at the Project Roots Garden. She was selected to be a part of the City of Phoenix's Urban Agriculture Fellowship, a program that places Phoenix residents ages 18 to 24 with urban farms to train them.
It's so much bigger than just like farming, you know, like everybody's got to eat, you know, and if you know how to grow your own food, then you can sustain yourself.
Willis Smith, known around the farm as Jelly, is involved in all aspects of the farm, including growing, distributing, and selling. She says knowing how to grow her own food is empowering, and she enjoys reconnecting with the nature around her.
Like you get to cultivate, you get to create life. Like that brings a certain kind of like feeling and like self-confidence.
Jelly works alongside Bridget Pettis, the garden manager of Project Roots. Pettis says the work they do at the garden is something the whole world can connect to.
Well, just giving our next generation the opportunity to learn about growing food again, about the land, about being sustainable, it's empowering.
In a recent survey, Arizona farmers expressed concern they will be unable to pass along their knowledge because they don't have apprentices. The average age of farmers in Arizona is nearly 60 years. Joseph Roselle, the Food System Programs Manager for Phoenix, stressed the importance of reconnecting younger generations with farming and finding replacements for farmers that are aging out.
If they cannot find a replacement, then that impact would reverberate through the food system. And I don't think that we fully appreciate that yet.
The Urban Agriculture Fellowship lasts 50 weeks. As of now, there's no plan for the program to run next year. In Phoenix, Molly McBride, Cronkite News.
One of the most iconic plants in Arizona, the saguaro cacti, is encountering some dangers in our Sonoran desert. Luke Vickery tells us about one specific threat.
Buffelgrass, an invasive plant, is overtaking the habitat of our beloved saguaro cacti. While their efforts to get rid of it, it may be impossible to eradicate. The saguaro cactus is a symbol for Arizona, but invasive plant species are getting in the way of a plant that usually thrives in the Arizona desert. Saguaro National Park's restoration ecologist Perry Grissom says the biggest threat comes from one plant, bufflegrass.
It's out there, it's just taking the water away from the saguaro, so they're not going to survive long term.
Bufflegrass was brought to arid portions of the U.S. beginning in the 1930s for cattle forage and erosion control. The plant thrives because of its drought tolerance and high seed production. Little thought was put into how it would affect Arizona's native plants.
Kind of colonize these areas between trees and shrubs and cacti in the desert, where those areas are typically barren. Now they're being colonized by bunch grasses, and so it's filling in the space between our saguaros and trees and shrubs.
The record-setting monsoon rainfall last year and predictions of another wet monsoon season means things could get worse for our saguaros.
Last year we had a really tremendous monsoon. We got a lot of rain, like double. And the natives did really well, but bufflegrass did much, much better than they did. It's just like a really strong competitor.
Once we exit monsoon season, the saguaro will struggle to compete with the new, stronger, and more stable bufflegrass. But there is another aspect of bufflegrass that challenges the saguaro. Here in Saguaro National Park, bufflegrass not only competes for the same resources as saguaro cacti, but it can also start wildfires, which can be detrimental to a saguaro cactus.
You know, it might take 200 years for saguaros to blink out on some hillside, but with a fire, they could be gone, you know, overnight, basically.
The national park has plans in place to help mitigate the growth of buffelgrass, but the timing of the treatment is tricky.
You know, post-summer and early fall, where some treatments have been conducted because there was an opportunity to treat the buffelgrass because it had greened up and was actively growing. And so when you apply herbicide, when it's green and actively growing, that's when the herbicide is most effective.
More than 250 trees were planted in Cesar Chavez Park this past weekend, establishing the first school corridor for the city of Phoenix. Mackenzie Allen Sharmley is at the park to tell us the impact of tree equity.
This tree behind me is one of 259 that were planted by over 100 volunteers in an effort to ensure safer and more comfortable walkways for residents in the South Phoenix area. One tool the city has to combat increasing heat is the ability to plant more trees where shade is needed. 1 year ago, Phoenix became the first U.S. city to pledge to tree equity, an initiative ensuring all neighborhoods get the benefits that trees provide. This past weekend was the first move to plant what they call a cool corridor.
It is a corridor where students are walking to and from, so the students in years from today, 5-10 years, will have a nice shaded area to walk in. It brings the community together, partners together, and we're really trying to address this issue of tree equity in Phoenix. And I think this was a really wonderful way to do that, and it's our first step, and we're excited to keep planting.
The city has a goal of 100 cool corridors by 2030 and are prioritizing communities that are susceptible to heat vulnerability and are low income. In Cesar Chavez Park in Phoenix, Mackenzie Allen Sharmley, Cronkite News.
Arizona's climate and terrain provides the perfect home for burrowing owls, the only owls that nest and live underground. But the ground these owls make home has become increasingly valuable. And as Raven Payne tells us, that makes for a hot housing market for these raptors.
It's not a what or a where, but rather a who. Burrowing owls are the cute little raptors you've probably seen or heard flying around Arizona. But because so many humans want to live in Arizona, these little guys are being crowded out.
Every day, there is some construction for new houses for a shopping center or a warehouse somewhere in Phoenix or Pinal County or greater Maricopa County.
Wild at Heart is a rescue center for birds of prey. According to founder and executive director Bob Fox, over the years, they've built thousands of homes for burrowing owls. These artificial burrows require certain criteria.
We look for open space, number one. You don't want to have a lot of tree lines because those will hide predators. You want to make sure that the owls have a good visual area to look. Again, it's all about predator awareness. So primarily what we're looking at now is still what little agricultural areas are left.
Moving an owl is a three-step process: intake, temporary habitat, and then releasing them to their artificial burrow. The explosive growth in Arizona means more owls are losing their homes, so they have to get them in and out of their temporary homes even faster.
Burrowing owls like these usually have a minimum of 60 days before being released from this habitat, but now that number has changed to less than 30.
Early one recent Saturday, more than 24 volunteers came out to build a neighborhood of sorts for owls. After they moved 2 owls into each home, they plan to come back every week to feed them. It's hard work, but the cute factor is good motivation.
I do a lot of road biking, and when I road bike the streets and stuff like that, it's just so neat to go near, canals or agricultural areas, and you see them flying around, and they're just so cute.
And who wouldn't want one of these guys as their neighbors? In Santan Valley, Raven Payne, Cronkite News.
Although these animals are currently losing their habitats, Bob Fox says he does not want them on the endangered animals list, as that would cause more problems for them. Eagles represent freedom, peace, and strength for many. But a recent study found that more and more eagles are suffering from chronic lead poisoning. Cronkite News reporter Peyton Major scavenged to find out what Arizona is doing to protect these birds.
Eagles are scavengers, and they often feed on animal carcasses littered with lead bullet fragments left by hunters. but Arizona is trying to get hunters to leave the lead behind. An eagle's unique call can be urgent, especially when they're hungry. But there's also an urgency from research biologists about the use of lead ammunition while hunting. A new study published in the journal Science looks at the impacts of lead ingestion in eagles around the country.
Primary findings of our study are that almost 50% of bald and golden eagles showed signs of repeated lead exposure throughout their lives.
The study also found that the bald eagle population is decreasing by 4% annually, while golden eagles are decreasing 1%. Slaby says the signs for a lead-poisoned eagle are a grounded bird with a droopy head and a green tail.
Eagles are important to people. You know, we have them as our national symbol, right? These are species that humans are attracted to, that we empathize with, and we see ourselves in them.
And in Arizona, of the few bald eagles studied, all were chronically lead poisoned. Liberty Wildlife rescues birds around Arizona and treats up to 20 lead-poisoned eagles a year. It can take 6 months to fully remove lead from a bird's system. California condors and other scavengers are also impacted by lead ammunition. Liberty Wildlife wants hunters to take action.
And when a lead fragment hits something, like when it hits a deer, it breaks apart in pieces.
The Arizona Game and Fish Department off Carefree Highway encourages use of non-lead ammo when hunting.
We've had 80 to 90% over the last decade of hunters in the area either switching to non-lead alternatives or removing their gut piles out of the environment after they're successful.
Arizona Game and Fish offers vouchers to big game hunters for free non-lead ammo when practicing in the California condor range. With the simple switch, more hunters and eagles are living lead-free. And with breeding season among us, eagle populations can continue to grow across Arizona.
If you're looking for something to do this weekend, the Maricopa County Fair is back up and running here in the Valley. Cronkite News reporter Madison Thomas takes us out to the fairgrounds to show us all the fun.
To not be able to bring the fair for the community and celebrate agriculture and celebrate education and culture and arts and fair food feels like it's been an eternity.
On Wednesday, the county fair reopened its gates for the first time since the start of the pandemic.
2019 was our last fair, so we are so excited to be back.
There were not many changes from the last fair, but there are a few new food vendors, including DRAGONFLY DESIGNZ, which offers a new take on the candy apple, which they call apple nachos.
It's great because every bite has caramel and chocolate on it, and a topping is so good.
Amber Bridges says her best friend is a talented chocolatier.
I grew up in Arizona, and I was telling her, I'm like, we have to do the fair because when I was a kid, we always had the good food. You know, you come out to the fair for the food, and I'm like, this would be great to have people try. So that's why we came out here.
Not only have thousands of people made their way back this year to the Maricopa County Fair, but so have all these animals, and they're definitely making themselves heard here today.
They are all shown by children between the ages of 8 and 19. Those kids spend, some of them up to a year, getting ready for this week. And the passion that they have, the understanding that they have that they are raising animals that go into our food chain and helping feed our public is an amazing thing.
Gavin Cornway has been raising animals for most of his life, and when the pandemic hit, he had to find new ways to compete.
We were still able to show them, but not at this spot, and some of the shows were online.
But he is back at the county fair this year with his sheep, Tupac. In Phoenix, Madison Thomas, Cronkite News.
The fair will run until Sunday. Admission is $9. Kids 7 and under are free.
Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream. For the first time ever, our most popular programs have been selected just for you.
But there's so much more.
Whether you like to travel,
wow,
feast,
and calories don't count.
Look back.
That is me.
Discover.
You know the whole story.
There's something for everyone.
Let's get to it right away.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
Food deserts affect communities by not having access to healthy food. Either the food locations are too far or too expensive. Cronkite News reporter Reina Preciado tells us how a small business in South Phoenix is changing that and helping families.
We're doing both dry goods.
Preparing fresh food,
And bagging the items for the South Phoenix community is a monthly routine for Sana Sana Foods.
We use the grains from different indigenous crops that have been here. There are wheat berries and chickpeas, as well as tepary beans that have more protein than a regular pinto or black bean that are commonly known.
Maria Paracano started Sana Sana Foods in 2018 to provide healthy, plant-based food options. Sana Sana Foods is helping work toward meeting the goals of the 2025 Phoenix Food Action Plan.
Why isn't there more access to fresh food, to healthy food, instead of cheap and fast food?
In Phoenix, there are 43 food deserts. Many people have to drive more than 1 mile to access fresh food. Sana Sana Foods brings the fresh food bags to the Chicanos por la Causa Community Center in South Phoenix. Once a month, community members come to pick up the bags.
So this site is in a zip code of one of the poorest zip codes in the county. We know that many of the families and the children that we serve go under food insecurities. So it's important that they have access to nutrient-dense foods, not just general food bags.
To create the 2025 Food Action Plan, City of Phoenix officials had to conduct a study.
So with that in mind, we started to look at what would be the challenges and where are the opportunities to create a plan that is really going to make the most difference to those that are most impacted by food insecurity and hunger.
Albright says they heard from the community members most impacted by food insecurity.
As it turns out, folks that are most impacted happen to be women and women of color.
The city provides funds to groups like Sana Sana Foods to connect with the community.
Right now, during these times, food is especially expensive and there is little access to get it fresh.
Avila receives healthy food packages. She says they help not only herself, but she sees how they help others too.
I feel great satisfaction when people come who really need it. When they say, oh, I didn't have eggs or I needed potatoes, and I'm left like, wow. So it's amazing to see how with so little you can make many people happy. You can't imagine the great satisfaction it is to see them smile as they take that bag of food home.
In Phoenix, Raina Preciado, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. Break It Down is next. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Break It Down is brought to you in part by Mayo Clinic and viewers like you.
Hi, I'm Ken Shropshire. I am the CEO of the Global Sport Institute and also the co-host of Break It Down. Today, we're going to talk with Wayne Kimmel, the leader of 76 Capital and one of the leading investors in sports betting. And we're going to break it down today on all the issues related to sports betting. Wayne, thanks for joining us. Wow, so we go from, in the old days, we're going to go to Vegas or you couldn't even go to Atlantic City, right? You couldn't bet sports in Atlantic City. Now it's everywhere. And you invest in sports related vehicles, other vehicles too. So you're watching this from the sidelines to some degree. And what kinds of issues did you think about in terms of, is this okay? I mean, I think there's a lot of things I want to try to bring in early on. The impact on people, so people that should not be betting, the integrity of sporting events overall. We just had in the news in the past couple of days, Calvin Ridley, a player in the National Football League with the Atlanta Falcons, has been suspended for a year for betting, he says $1,500 on an NFL game. How did all these issues come into play when you made this business decision to get more deeply into it?
Well, first of all, we saw this big opportunity of this, $500 billion, $500 million, billion dollar opportunity, right? I mean, it's unbelievable what's happened with across the country, and this opportunity to see how much money was coming into the world of sports from sports betting. And, we had to make sure that there were all the right things and all the right pieces in place from an integrity perspective, from a compliance perspective. There's a reason why, we're so excited at 76 Capital to be part of the American Gaming Association's Have a Game Plan initiative to make sure there's truly, that everything's on the up and up. That's an important thing for us. It's important for us as investors in this industry to have investments in companies like US Integrity and odds-on compliance to make sure that you do the right thing. And unfortunately for someone like Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons, the rules are the rules. You can't bet on sports if you're a player, and he broke that rule, and that's unfortunate for him.
So is there an advantage now to going to Las Vegas? I mean, or can I not do this just from my home or my phone? I'm not. Maybe I'm an outlier. I have not gotten into the whole gaming thing. I've gotten my share of the ads. I mean, from starting with fantasy to this Caesars guy to all these things that are out there for me. But is there even a need to leave my living room now to participate in this great opportunity to gamble on sports?
In many states today, you can just bet on your phone. So mobile sports betting is now legal in almost 20 of the 30 states. So you can actually now bet on your couch or in the seat if you're at a game. So you don't have to go to a casino or a sports book, but there's some really interesting, innovative things that are happening in that world as well.
If you look around the world, you can see some of the things that are there. What's left? What's going on? I think of venues around the world where you can go in and bet on the events themselves at that venue. And what kinds of things are in the future if things continue to move the way that they are?
Well, Ken, that's an amazing question, because everything that's happening in the tech world is happening in the world of sports, and especially within sports betting. So the metaverse, AR, VR, NFTs, crypto, all of those buzzwords, all of those amazing things that are happening in the tech world are coming to the world of sports, and especially sports betting. So you're able to go to a PGA Tour event and use augmented reality, literally hold your phone up and be able to have this unbelievable augmented reality experience and see the tracing of the ball and the shot, as you would see on TV, but doing that as you're at the event itself, being able to see, where a certain, player's shot is if it's 10 feet away versus another player who may be 5 feet away, and being able to see the odds and being able to bet on that in your augmented reality world. So to see where this is all going, it's really exciting to see the use of new types of payment systems, whether that's crypto or other ways of being able to pay for your bets themselves. All this is changing. The one thing that we see is that entrepreneurs are coming to the world of sports, and sports betting is one of those ways where we're starting to see these amazing technology entrepreneurs coming to the world of sports and building something that's truly innovative.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to, I know it's going to be tough, take off your 76 Capital cap for a moment in terms of investing. But overall, as you've watched this, and as I said, you're one of the early observers of this whole phenomenon, do you think this has been a good idea, the idea of adding this layer of betting? And also, I guess we can throw in, could we have stopped at fantasy? If we stopped at fantasy, would that have been enough? Have we gone too far in terms of making these opportunities to bet, this once taboo thing, to adding this as maybe a rite of passage as a person in participating with sports?
I think the one thing to really point out is that sports betting is not new. That's really something that's just come out of the shadows, and I think that regulated sports betting in the sense that it's being done today, with the rules, the regulations, making sure that you're not having to bet with a bookie or someone or go offshore and do things in an illegal fashion is a good thing. It's something that is good for the overall sports industry. It's a way that fans engage more. They've been betting anyway, but they've been doing it in an illegal or sort of in the gray markets. So I think that now that you have a regulated, fair way of doing it is something that is really good for the overall sports industry.
Okay, final question, Wayne, and You've seen all the different products that are out there, all the different paths to get into this. If somebody's on the edge of their seat saying, okay, I finally want to try this out, what's a good entry path to not risk the house, I guess, but to maybe place a bet on your favorite team?
Well, look, there are lots of really great platforms out there, whether it's the DraftKings, the FanDuels, MGM, Caesars, PointsBet. There's a great number of apps out there to just try. There's a lot of the news today has been about the different offers that are out there. So there's a lot of ways for you to play risk-free and try it. But again, it's making sure that you truly have a game plan, that you're not betting too much. That's the one thing. If you really look at the best gamblers out there, they do a little better than like over 50%. And those are the greatest gamblers in the world, in the sports betting world. So this is something that for most people, this is just a fun thing to do and not something to take very seriously.
So thank you, Wayne Kimmel, for joining us on Break It Down to discuss sports betting, and also to add a little PSA of have a game plan and bet responsibly. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you. If you have comments about Arizona PBS News, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Thank you.